Shalom. First off, I want to start out by giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Yahweh being the Heavenly Father's true name, Yahweh Shai being the name of His only begotten Son, giving double honors unto the elders and the apostles, a great millstone who rule well and teach well. And peace, blessings, and salutations to all Yuakim throughout the four corners of the earth, continuing to push and do the works in truth and in sincerity. It's the brother Masha, Mayum, one of the men coming up under the branch out here in the morning camp. And just here with a quick lesson through the spirit, and just pretty much it's gonna be a lesson, inspired off of the video that I'm not sure who it was, but I believe it was Elder Apostle Gabar Khan. He put up the video, many shall be offended, pretty much going into the Israelite foreigners that are prophesied to come in, all right, that many guys were gonna get offended, but it's just quick ad, and just pretty much showing how all everyone that's meant to be saved is all Israel. All right, even in the Revelations, the 7th chapter, when it speaks about the great multitude, because as we read, it's going to be 12,000 out of every tribe, but then you got a great multitude that's also mentioned. But so we're gonna read that too, Lord's will, but so I just wanted to do a lesson real quick, just pretty much showing now the only people getting saved and being delivered are Israelites. So let's start off in the book of Deuteronomy, because ultimately first I want to prove who the laws were given to. All right, this is Deuteronomy chapter 7 and starting at verse so like you're not Deuteronomy 7, but Deuteronomy chapter 4. And starting at verse 5. Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my power commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither you go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. Okay, so right here, plain and simple, this is Moses, all right? He's retelling the laws and he's explaining it onto the nation of Israel, okay? When they were in the wilderness, all right? And pretty much this is Moses retelling him the laws, and the only people that were right that were there with him were Israelites, okay? So these laws were only meant to be for the nation of Israel, all right? No other nation was there at that time. It was Moab wasn't around, Esau wasn't around, Ishmael wasn't around them there being also told the laws. No, it was just Israel. So from there, let's grab I'm gonna get Romans 9. Romans chapter 9 and verse, we'll just start at the top. Romans chapter 9 and verse 1. I say the truth in Hamashiach, I lie not. My conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Ghost, that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Hamashiach, for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption, and the glory, and the covenants, and the giving of the law, and the service of the Most High, and the promises. All right. So this is Paul speaking here, and he's explaining that he has the spirit is heavy upon him, and he wishes that he was accursed. Okay, for as he explains, his brethren, his Israelites, according to the flesh. Okay, so that's another thing too. You literally have to be an Israelite by bloodline. Okay, your lineage literally has to go back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, to be a part of this thing. All right. Now, once again, in the times that we're in, we can't prove that, but what? We just go off the spirit, and this is a thing of faith, all right? Because as the scriptures say, Romans, the spirit beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High, all right? And even also in Deuteronomy, when you read the curses, okay, it says what? And these curses shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, all right? So a sign is what? A sign is something. It's a mark. It's to be able to it's something that shows what something is. All right, like well, I don't even I ain't even gonna overspeak on it, but pretty much it's to show that these are the Israelites because they're going through these curses that is explained in Deuteronomy. All right, because when you look at it, none of these other nations is going through these curses that are talked about in Deuteronomy. All right, so and it says, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of the Most High and the promises. All right, so only the nation of Israel is who the adoption. Okay, that's another thing to point out right there. The adoption. All right, because you got to understand the time in the time that Paul was speaking in. Okay, you had by then Israel was scattered everywhere. All right, because after Paul when Paul was on the scene, that was after the kingdom split. Okay, and Jake was going off, for the longest. All right, and at that time you had a lot of Israelites that were scattered off, even within that time. Okay, and that's why the scriptures say Paul was sent to be a light to the Gentiles. All right, so this is who the adoption pertains to. All right, and that's why I mentioned it right there. And the glory and the covenants. All right, the covenants. The laws being put within us. All right, and the giving of the law. Um, so from there, let's grab because I mentioned how the adoption pertains on to Israel, because ultimately what happened to the nation of Israel once they went off. All right, let's get that in Ezekiel. It's Ezekiel chapter 14 and starting at verse 5. Ezekiel 14 and 5. That I may take the house of Israel in their own heart, because they are all estranged from me through their idols. Okay, so the nation of Israel was estranged through the idols. All right, and this started even way back, when Jake started worshiping that golden calf. All right, when Moses was up getting being given the laws, okay, by the Lord. All right, and you had Israel was waiting down waiting down beneath the mountain, and what? That's when the Lord told Moses, look, hey, these people are going off. All right, they down there worshiping the golden calf, and that's when Moses had to go down there and pretty much he broke the stones and whatnot. All right, so that started way back then, but even how much more now? Jake continued to go off and continue to serve different gods. All right, so and let's go into that word estranged real quick. Estranged. Tazawar, to be strange, to be a stranger. All right, to become estranged, strange, another stranger, foreigner, and so yeah, Jake became estranged by serving these other gods. They became Israelite foreigners by serving these other gods and doing what these other heathens do. All right. So especially, and how much more when Jake was scattered off, even in the time that we're in now. All right, you got a lot of Israelites that are scattered everywhere. All right, because due to once again the transatlantic slave trade, you got Israelites everywhere. You got Israelites in Europe. All right, you got Israelites everywhere down in South America. Okay. Well, I mean that's like a majority spot of Israel, because I mean ultimately all Israel is not all, but a lot of the Israelites. You got the Northern Kingdom that came over to the Americas, but you got them everywhere. You got them in Europe, down in Australia, even in Asia, all right, Africa, you know. So, and what, a lot of them didn't know that there were Israelites. You probably got Israelites that were in Asia that were serving them, that probably didn't know anything about being an Israelite, and they were probably, serving Buddha or whatever. All right. So, but just showing you, just outlining how, the laws were given to Israel, okay? And Israel went off, and it was ultimately prophesied, because let's get that, all right? In Deuteronomy chapter 28, and Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 40, believe it's 64. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 64. And this is one of the curses that was mentioned. All right. This is a part of the curses that was going to come upon us. And it says, "And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone." Okay, so this is exactly what's happened, all right, because Jake went off and they didn't continue in the law, all right, because ultimately, and that's another reason why Yahushua is here and why Yahushua had to come, all right, because ultimately the Lord cast away Israel and he wasn't dealing with them, all right, but through Yahushua once again, all right, let's get that real quick. Because this is what Paul mentioned in Galatians. This is Galatians chapter 3, and this is ultimately who the Lord came to save. You know, this is Galatians chapter 3 and verse Galatians chapter 3 and starting at verse 10. "For as many as are of the works of the law are under the curse." All right, and that Deuteronomy, okay, explains that curse. If thou shalt discontinue from these laws, you're going to be cursed, and that's the curse that Paul's speaking of here. "For it is written, cursed is everyone that continueth not in all things that are written in the book of the law to do them." Right, the laws that were given to the nation of Israel. You know, and we explained how no one was there but the nation of Israel when Moses was given those laws. All right. And it says, "But that no man is justified by the law in the sight of the Most High, for it is evident, for the just shall live by faith." All right. "And the law is not of faith, but the man that doeth them shall live in them." Verse 13 is the point. "Hamashiach, okay, hath redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us, for it is written, cursed is everyone that hangeth on a tree." All right. So cursed is everyone, so like it, Hamashiach hath made us, the Lord redeemed us from that curse. Okay. So this is the reason why the Lord came, because ultimately the Lord came to redeem the nation of Israel, as it was prophesied. It says what? "And he shall save his people." All right. When he was born, when they gave him his name, you know. So just showing you ultimately the laws were given to the nation of Israel, and Israel is the only ones that are getting saved and being able to be delivered. So, you know, it was just my take on it, you know, or this, you know, Salakia. This is just my take on you know that or Salakia. I don't even want to say my take, but you know, I'm just doing the lesson to point out this, you know, it's an add-on, you know, to what the lesson that the elder did. All right, because for the individuals that ultimately get offended and that you got a lot of people that don't look, you know, like your typical Israelites coming into this thing, ultimately they're just not spiritual and they don't get it, you know. I mean, it's plain throughout the scriptures, and we understand that only the Lord is only dealing with the nation of Israel. So, and as it tells us in Isaiah, let's get it real quick. Isaiah chapter 11. Isaiah chapter 11 and verse 11. "And it shall come to pass at that day, in that day, that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea." All right. "And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel together, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth." All right. So this is a prophecy. Ultimately, he's gonna gather together the dispersed of Judah and uh, um assemble the outcasts of Israel. All right. Because ultimately the nation of Israel was scattered, and this is why, okay, the Lord is coming back to deliver, all right, the elect among them that are scattered among all these other nations. All right. So at the end of the day, all these Israel, you know, all Israelites that were scattered abroad that are part of the elect are going to be gathered in. But once again, they're not going to come looking like your typical Israelite. They're not going to look like Idris Elba, you know, or your typical Latino, you know. So uh I'm gonna just read Revelation 7 anyway, because ultimately this is who's all getting saved, and we showed how that great multitude is Israelites that were scattered abroad. This is Revelation chapter 7, and I'll start at the top. And after these things I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living power, and he cried with a loud voice to the four angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, Hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our power in their foreheads. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. So, and once again, I don't understand how these people get around this, because everybody getting saved here is all Israel. All right, it literally says 12,000 out of the nation of Israel, and it's not just any old individual that believes in the gospel in which it makes him a nation of Israel. No, it's literally the bloodline, individuals of the nation of Israel, people that their lineage literally descends back to the nation of Israel. I mean, to the man Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to the men, okay, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right, so I'm not gonna read it all. I mean, pretty much it goes into all the tribes, and it shows you it says 12,000 out of every tribe, so but I'm gonna jump down to verse 9, all right, because this is the main point I want to get at. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands, all right, and cried with a loud voice, saying, Salvation to our power which sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb. And all the angels stood round about the throne and about the elders and the four beasts, and fell before the throne and on their faces and worshipped the Most High, saying, Amen, blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor be, Salaki, and power and might be unto our power forever and ever. Amen. But what? Verse 9 it mentioned of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues. And this is where a lot of these Christians get confused, because they think this is speaking about every nation, but no, it's talking about the nation of Israel, okay? The Israelites that were scattered among those nations, all right? When we just explained Isaiah 11, okay, how you got Israelites scattered in every nation. It mentioned from Cush, from Egypt, from Shinar, all right, from Pathros, from Elam, all right, and even in I'm not sure where it's at, but just quoting it, it says, "O thou Moab, be a covering cast for my people," all right. So you got Israelites everywhere, and they look like these nations. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, What are these which are arrayed in white robes, and whence came they? And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said unto me, These are they which came out of great tribulation, and have washed their robes, and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. All right. So it mentions the blood of the Lamb. Okay. The blood of the Lamb is talking about Yahushua. Yahushua died for who? The nation of Israel. So it's saying they have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. We just read in Galatians 3, the Lord, okay, redeemed the nation of Israel from the curse of the law. That's the whole point of him coming and dying and shedding his blood. Okay. All right. So, all right. That's why he calls him what? The lamb, okay, the sacrificial lamb. All right. So I mean it's really plain, to the ones that can get it. All right, but yeah, so but that's pretty much the point of this lesson. I just thought I'd do a lesson or a quick add-on onto that. I was thinking about it before, but I ain't put it on wax, but just decided to do it now. So I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, for putting his spirit upon me to do this lesson, and giving double honors unto the elders and the apostles, a great millstone, who rule well and teach well, and peace, blessings, and salutations to all Yuakim throughout the four corners of the earth. continuing to push and do the works in truth and in sincerity. Shalom.